Hey, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Drew, aka Booty Sweat, and just like I said last time, we talked about the things that I liked about Mortal Kombat 11. In this video, I want to cover some things that I very much dislike about Mortal Kombat 11. It is not a perfect game by any means. It is certainly, in my opinion, it's decent. I've had a lot of fun. I've put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this game. But there are definitely some pretty glaring flaws with it that I think are worth addressing, worth covering. Most of them are not going to be anything that you guys haven't heard before, but you know, stick around. Maybe they will. I don't know. So anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing that I really have to say that I hate with a passion about Mortal Kombat 11 are the freaking Towers of Time. I hate the Towers of Time. I mentioned in my other video when I was talking about the announcement that NRS made that you can't really argue that there's not a significant amount of content in this game. There is a decent amount of content. Unfortunately, a lot of the content consists of these stupid Towers of Time, and a lot of the like gear and customizables and all this kind of stuff is locked behind the towers. And the towers just suck, dude. They're just so tedious. I cannot stand the way that it'll just be like, here, go through a tower of 5 opponents and they all simultaneously drain your health and restore their own and do increased damage and have invincibility armor. And it's like, what? This is so dumb, and it's not even difficult. Like, that's the thing, is I have to challenge myself by trying to do all the towers without any consumables. Because generally that's just more fun for me. And also, if I want to use the controller that I actually like to use, it doesn't have any thumbsticks on it. It's a fight pad, so it has no thumbsticks, so I can't really even use the consumables anyway. But even when you use the consumables, the most difficult towers in the game go from being basically impossible without consumables to being pretty easy, just like a long slog, right? They just end up being a slog. Like if your opponent is draining your health and there's blood rain and whatever else going on, you know, you can bring consumables that like restore your health and like shoot out a Cyrax net and all that kind of stuff. And it makes it overall much easier and much more doable. But the problem is it's not any more fun. It becomes more tedious, becomes more of a grind, becomes more obnoxious. You know, the Towers of Time are just obnoxious. They just suck. They're obnoxious, they're annoying, and the fact that they're like one of the primary ways for you to unlock cosmetics in this game, that just blows. I can't stand it. Really, I don't know. I can't describe with enough detail how much I hate Towers of Time. So we're just gonna move on from it. The game definitely has lots of content, especially when you include that, but that is some of the worst implemented content in any fighting game I've ever played, to be honest. The second thing that I really dislike about Mortal Kombat 11 is freaking Kombat League. I hate Kombat League. Lots of people hate Kombat League. For one, it's a weird thing to reset everyone's ranks like every month. I think that sucks. In terms of like a ranked mode, that blows. Don't do that. The problem that happens when you get with that is one, you do that, but then you also lock certain cosmetics behind Kombat League. Like you can't get them any other way, basically, or at least not for a long time. And so people go into Kombat League just like as sweaty as they can get, and I'm all for competition. I love ranked mode. I pretty much only play ranked mode in every fighting game that I play. But the thing about ranked mode is you usually level out and you end up with other players that are about your level, and that's how you get better, is by playing players that are about at your level. Some will be a little below, some will be a little above. But that's how you really improve at playing a fighting game, in my opinion, is by actually playing people online, having good competition. The problem that I have with Kombat League is that it kind of throws all of that out the window. Every start of every season, everyone is at the exact same place, and you end up with all of the bad players and all of the really good players all fighting each other at the beginning of every month. This isn't good for the good players, and it's not good for the bad players, so it's really not good for anybody. And then you end up in this situation where people are like trying so hard because they want these wins, because they want to get these cosmetics, and it kind of affects the pacing, the way people play. people will play in really dumb ways. That's another thing. That's the next thing we're going to talk about, actually, is that this game also allows and rewards people for playing really stupid. And so it just overall ends up being a really miserable experience most of the time. Maybe not in like the highest of high ranks, but at least that early slog of getting up to like demigod and god and elder god and all that stuff, it's just miserable. It's awful. And then add on top of that, I mentioned this in the last video, but add on top of that that you can't filter out Wi-Fi players. Give me a break, dude. This is a disaster of a ranked mode, in my opinion. I cannot stand it. I've played, the majority of my matches have been in like competitive casual mode in this game, just because Kombat League is so miserable all the time. So anyway, I'm not a fan of Kombat League. And the third thing that I really dislike a lot of times, and I won't say I always dislike it, but I think the audio and visual presentation actually makes up for a lot of this, to be honest. But that kind of is not great when your core gameplay loop, your core gameplay in the fights, it's just not that fun. And so you really need like these really visceral and awesome looking moves to kind of make up for that. That's really what draws me to Mortal Kombat 11, is like the really satisfying moves and stuff that you can do, and the way they sound and the way they look. But the problem is the actual gameplay itself in between those moves is just not that great, in my opinion. It's not horrible. It's not the worst fighting game I've ever played, but there's a couple of mechanics that I really can't stand. So for one, I will never, ever, ever like the fact that projectiles don't clash in NRS games. I've been told I've been in other big fighting game content creators chats on Twitch and stuff, and they've told me off about how, well, it wouldn't be a Mortal Kombat game, and no, it would be so different. And that's exactly my point. Like, yeah, it would be different, and it would be better if the stupid projectiles clashed. But that's just my opinion. What really I don't like about the game is, for one, the automatic meter building. I thought I liked this for about a year. And maybe about a year ago, I started kind of going back to some of my other fighting games that I like to play, that being Street Fighter, the most recent one being Guilty Gear. I was playing a lot of Grand Blue when it came out, and I just realized, man, these games, like the building of the meter and like actually building your own resources and then having to manage them, that is really a cool part of those games. Like, that's a fun part of those games, is, you know, actually managing your meter and building it and all of that kind of stuff. The way it just kind of automatically builds, it's just not really great. And then you add on top of the fact that some characters use meter much more effectively than others, but both of those characters in that scenario build meter at exactly the same rate. That doesn't really make sense to me. I don't like the automatic. I just really don't like the meter system. On top of that, I really hate Breakaway. Breakaway is one of those things where, and I'm a Baraka player, so I don't suffer from my opponents using Breakaway. In fact, 9 times out of 10, I end up getting 50% off of them using Breakaway. But the whole system in general, that basically it doesn't reset neutral. We just need a regular combo breaker. The whole point of a combo breaker, or a burst, or whatever you call it, in whichever game it's in, is to reset neutral. The Breakaway doesn't do that in this game. You know, the Breakaway basically creates an advantage in a lot of situations for the person being comboed. And I just don't think that that's a good thing. And I also don't really like the wake up system either, that someone who's on the ground has 15 different options on how they want to get up. You know, they can roll in 2 directions, delay wake up, you know, use an invincible up 3 and not invincible but a launching up 2. You know, they can do all these different things, and again, it just puts pressure on the player who got the knockdown. And that's just backwards. Like, the player who got the knockdown should be rewarded with Oki. And that's how fighting games are generally supposed to work. There's like no Oki in this game. Oki, I think, is just a really important aspect of any fighting game, and a fighting game really suffers as a result of not having it. So, in my opinion. So, really, I think the overall gameplay of Mortal Kombat 11 has some serious issues. Another thing that I really hate about MK11's gameplay is fatal blows. Fatal blows are just a disaster. Now, I really like crushing blows. I think the idea of like a one-off move that has like specific properties and things like that, has a cool little animation, that's kind of a cool idea. I think a lot of crushing blow ideas could be implemented better. I think that it's ridiculous to me that some characters have like almost no good crushing blows while others can freaking eat your entire health bar with their crushing blows. That's weird to me. I don't get that decision, but for sure, fatal blows are freaking the worst. So before, they made a lot of them more punishable, but even still, a lot of them are just straight up not punishable. On top of being not punishable, a lot of the characters that have the not punishable ones, or the super good ones, are already really good characters. And then you have characters like Baraka, who basically you have to confirm his fatal blow off of of a combo or whatever. You can't just throw it out like a lot of other characters that just don't have punishable ones. And then the freaking animations are just so long. They're way too long. They're basically little fatalities on their own. Like, a lot of them are like more gruesome and more violent than the actual fatalities. And I think that's just weird. That's just odd. So fatal blows, they suck. I don't like them at all. I think if you use it and it whiffs or it's blocked, it should be gone. I don't think that it should recharge or whatever. It only goes away if you successfully land it. Nah, I think you use it, and whether it lands or not, it should be gone. It should be out of there. I think that would add a lot more layers to the gameplay and would make fatal blows not quite so freaking annoying. So anyway, I don't really want to say that the meta is boring overall with kind of like the strike throw gameplay, except for some characters being able to just completely circumvent neutral and do whatever they want. I don't want to say that it's boring, but I think that it's probably a little boring. You see that time and again, people saying that they just don't have fun watching it, and I really don't have fun watching it either, to be honest with you. I have fun playing it, but I don't like watch any big major tournaments or anything like that. Mainly just because generally I don't think MK11 provides a particularly exciting viewing experience, you know, so I don't know. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you disagree with all these things that I said. If so, then leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about MK11 overall. I think if I had to give MK11 like a score as a fighting game overall, I probably would give it maybe like a 7 out of 10 if I was just going to give it some arbitrary number score. It's not the worst fighting game I've ever played for sure, and it's not the worst NRS game in my opinion. That might be some fighting words to a lot of people, but it's not the best game ever either. It had a lot of untapped potential, to be honest with you. Things that could have been really great about the game are just like, if it's what we think, then it's probably never going to actually reach that potential, and those things will never actually be as great as they could be, which is very disappointing. Kind of sucks, but anyway, yeah, that's it for the negativity. I'm gonna try at least to keep being positive, be your positive face in the FGC and specifically in the Mortal Kombat community, that kind of thing. So, all right, stick around. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Have a good one and be blessed.